Hello. Hi. Today I will try to cover France, and next week I will try to cover United States. Let's begin. I want to share my screen first. Okay. France. Um, yes. French history and geography. This presentation is based on the book of Michael Roskin, Countries, Concepts, Politics, and Geography. I have 20 slides and I'm going to read them today. French geography and history. France has a history of large armies to protect from invasions, and this has contributed to its history of absolutism. Northern and southern France are divided along both cultural and temperamental lines. Roman influence is important in France. The French people are a mixture of ethnic stocks. The tribes of Celts pushed their way into France and mixed with the native Ligurians. There are important three philosophers that I want to make reference to while analyzing France today. They are Montesquieu, Voltaire, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Voltaire was the epitome of the Enlightenment, a movement advocating reason and tolerance. Montesquieu was more impressed with the English system of government and felt that people should rationally select their governments. Rousseau felt society corrupts humankind and that the general will must prevail. French political thinkers called for sweeping change, and these three thinkers didn't like their governments at the time being. French Revolution. Although France had made progress, the 18th century saw France at near bankruptcy. France had attempted to move towards a free market economy, but the adjustment was too much. The ideas of enlightenment, liberty, general will, and consent of the governed combined to undermine the ancien regime. For most of the 18th century, France saw improving economic conditions. However, with the better economy came expectations and awakened jealousies. Economic growth actually became destabilizing in France. Freedom to tyranny. In 1791, the National Assembly instituted a constitutional monarchy. If things had stopped there, the French Revolution might have mirrored the English Revolution. The constitutional monarchy was undermined by the monarchian aristocrats as well as by the radical Jacobins. The Third Republic, this was France's first stable democracy, lasting from 1871 to 1940. It was primarily conservative and bourgeois-led. Social tensions grew and the clerical-anti-clerical divide was not healed. Economic growth decreased and the popularity of leftist parties increased. In the early 1940s, Nazi Germany swept through. Fourth Republic, like the Third Republic, the Fourth was plagued by a weak executive and small squabbling parties that produced immobilism. Problems of decolonization furthered the decline of the Fourth Republic. Let's look at the key institutions of France. A semi-presidential system. De Gaulle devised a hybrid system with both a president and a prime minister. With command of the largest party in the National Assembly, the president held sway for a long time. For the first 28 years of the Fifth Republic, the system functioned as a presidential system. De Gaulle led the system as president from 1958 to 1969. French multi-party system. Multi-party systems can be stable and effective. However, the Fifth Republic has lasted this long because the conservative Gaullists became the largest party in the system. The electoral system in France. Presidential and legislative elections are exercised every 5 years. 5-year cycles are intended to limit the need for either cohabitation or presidential dissolution of the National Assembly. France's electoral system has again, I'm continuing this part. The two-party system in the United States and the 2+ system in Britain discourage minor parties from existing. Proportional representation systems permit and even allow minor parties to exist and win. The Constitutional Council is an important institution in French political structure. The Constitutional Council was part of the 1958 Constitution. The council came into its own during cohabitation under Mitterrand and the Conservative parliaments. Let's look at the political culture of France. French society is divided mostly between conservative France and radical France. The former tends to be Catholic and is indifferent or even hostile towards the revolution. The latter tends to be secular and in favor of the revolution. Although conservatives no longer battle radicals in France, the divide is still there in one form or another. Social classes. France is known as a class society. There is a large gap between working and middle class. Social mobility in France is not what it could be. Class differences reinforce cleavages in the country. The main four cleavages are among clerical versus anti-clerical, urban versus rural, radical conservative cleavage, and north-south divide. The eternal bureaucracy. Primary civil servants are very important, and they staff the Paris ministries as the Grand Corps. Most primary civil servants are graduates of a great school. Powers of the bureaucracy grew over time with the Fifth Republic because de Gaulle has limited the powers of the National Assembly. However, many top politicians also come from the civil service, with 3/4 of ministers and 2/5 of National Assembly deputies coming from the civil service class. Governments by bureaucracy. More than in Britain, the civil service is a powerful governing body that goes uncontrolled by elected officials. However, this doesn't make France unique. At the same time, reforms usually mean adding more bureaucracy to monitor and trim other branches. And my last slide is a very brief one again. France and Europe. France was an original European Cooperation Security Council member and party to the common market. France didn't reject the 2005 EU constitution, and most French favored the EU. Also, the French political leaders favored the EU, but also we know that at the same time there are concerns in France over sovereignty issues. As you see today, I try to analyze France's political system, and in my next video, I will try to cover United States. Thanks for listening to me, and have a great weekend.